Morning, everyone. Very quick observation. So the first two speakers, one thing that stood out when you came on stage was almost like coming on stage here and saying, I'm not an educator, almost with an embarrassing kind of like vibe. And I say this with the utmost respect. And that's the divide that we're having today. Almost like, oh wow, no, I don't want to say I'm educated. The truth of the matter is that you are back on stage and you're addressing a room full of educators. I recall the only time I'm more nervous is when I had to go on stage and talk to 500 doctors and teaching them how to use a platform that I designed. It doesn't get better with practice, the nervousness. So I'm going to stand here now and just say proudly, my name is Ngeow. I'm a parent and I'm an educator. And I think you all should be proud that you're all educators too. But today I don't come up to you as educator. I'm going to wear the parent hat and talk to you about raising digital children. The BuzzFeed headline, those headlines that you see on Facebook that makes you click is 9 tips to growing smarter little humans. Right, so you can tweet that. Very quickly about me. So, there you see, it's doing that thing. So, I am a parent and a community builder. I am very active in terms of the startup scene, married. One of that is my kids. I'm surrounded by kids all the time. And I've been working in the education line for a bit. Not as a teacher, but as somebody who designs and builds online platforms. And like I say, having to go on stage and teach 500 doctors why they need internet, why they should have a computer, and why they should get online. In my career, I was very privileged to have an opportunity to help design and develop a lot of kids apps. About half of these were designed and developed by me. We were doing it in a very hackish way. That means we basically immediately bridged, like how Arthur was talking about interactivity. We saw a big need for interactivity, and we just go in and say, here's another thing that is analog, how to get it interactive. So I was very fortunate to work with a small team of about 2 other people to just churn out apps like a factory the day the iPad was launched. And we were very lucky that one of the apps was actually featured in WWDC. At an Apple conference where they were telling people, hey, here's how you should design the apps for parents and children. So that was quite a career highlight for myself personally. Later part of my career, I was involved in a company that was doing more about grown-ups training. This particular piece of app that I helped design was brain entrainment. So there was a research that certain sound waves help you learn better. A very preliminary kind of study, but we latched on it and said, let's try it out, and then we captured certain brainwaves activities, and we would then layer that with an audio lecture. So the idea here is that if I can play you a certain sound wave that is supposedly makes you remember things better, what if I can mix it with, let's say for example, a TED Talk, or a talk about gender equality from Marina Mate, and I play with that brainwave thing, so I remind you and you remember and recall these things. Did really well. We ranked number 4 in health and fitness, and those are just vanity metrics to say that this app is doing well and it's overwhelmingly positive feedback, which is a good validator. And more recently, I was part of the team to build a interactive learning platform called Elula, not for kids. Because children have no money, so we target the grown-ups who have money. The idea behind this thing is more about, hey, if we can crack this, if we can solve this thing for the grown-ups, maybe we will be able to say, you can use this same platform, like what Arthur was saying. The platform is nothing without content, and we are trying to hack and figure out what's the best way to bridge this gap of bringing content onto platforms. Yes, we are basically throwing our gauntlet and competing with everybody else who's trying to say my platform. Okay, but it's fun. You learn a lot. You learn a lot about teachers and trainers and coaches and stuff, how they teach, the different methods of teaching. It's a real green field. In case you don't understand green field, it hasn't been solved yet. So if you're a teacher and you want to get involved in these sort of things, I highly recommend you immerse yourself in the content management systems, learning management systems, and just try them all out. Try them all out. Yeah, and as I said just now, I was a parent. I'm a parent, and I'm an educator, and these are my students, my children. I brought, just now you mentioned Brazil, I actually brought in a teacher from Brazil to open Malaysia's first capoeira school. Nothing online, nothing technical, but again, you know, to be able to immerse myself into a, you know, how to set up a school. With the help of ELS as well, they actually had, I was working at ELS back then, and I groveled at Louis and said, can you help me get a scholarship for my Brazilian coach and instructor while we figure out the visa thing. So very hackish way of just trying to bring a school into Malaysia. Really fun times. And just because of that groveling, we now have one of the biggest capoeira schools in Malaysia. You know, and it's just like that. And that one is all my designers that I bring together in my previous company. Again, educating them, teaching them. There's a community here that I curated for the last 6 years. You're more than welcome to join, where we talk about technology. I'm bringing parents on board and stuff to share all sorts of things and stuff. I can't cover everything in this short talk. If you are Facebook savvy, I welcome you to join it and read about all the technology, education stuff and so on and so forth, where we're trying to bring teachers, educators, parents together in this pretty fun Facebook group. All right. 9 tips to growing smarter little humans. Maybe, right? Quick show of hands so that I know that the talk is going to be relevant to you guys. Parents with young children. Oh wow, okay. I assume that, and also maybe teachers who have to manage small children. Okay, cool. Now the same parents and the teachers and stuff, you have to deal with smart devices, iPad, iPhones, iPods, iPads, iPhones, iPods. Okay, cool. So this would be somewhat relevant to you guys, or maybe you're already going to be looking at this thing and go, yeah. I'm going to be bringing up all these 9 points. Most of them are kind of like I read a research somewhere, I read an article somewhere, and it's telling me this is the right thing to do. That's right. I'm not going to cite all of them. But you just gotta trust me that I did my research. Okay? So without further ado, let's go for the first one. Set time limits. Very important. The smaller your children are, the more strict your time limits should be. I have 4 kids. Like I just said just now, my eldest is 8, then is 7. This is always the tricky part. 8, 7, 5, and 3. So trust me on this. I tested out 30 minutes or 1 hour, or whatever. I even tested one where I just say, hey kid, play with the iPad all day. Didn't end well. Didn't end well at all. Set time limits. I think the general consensus now is the younger your child is, 30-minute blocks, right? 1 hour at about 7 or 8. You can research all these things. To me, I'm like, I just keep things simple. If it's a work, if it's a school day, 30 minutes tops. If it's a weekend, I give you 1 hour. After that, you figure your own thing out. So you set the time limit. This is a really good tip. The children need to earn it, right? They have to earn that time to use the device. And as a parent, this is a great way to incentivize good behavior. In my household, what I've done is that because I send my kids to a play school nearby. And most play schools, or in this case kindergartens, man, you know, you try to instill a healthy nutritional habit at home. No candy, no sweets, no junk food. Guess what? They come home from school every day with bags of sweets, bags of candy. Oh, somebody's party again. Oh, twisties and Pringles. And we were like, oh man, you know, within 1 semester, my fridge is full of junk food. Exactly, because I created a reward system where I say, hey child, no, not child, I call my kids, right? If you guys bring in sweets and junk food, for every item of candy, you earn 1 minute iPad time. And that's why my fridge is full of candy and sweets and junk food. So it's very nice to go open the fridge and wow, my kids didn't consume any of that stuff. And then later on tell me, we did the calculation, we have 2 hours iPad time. Right? Make them earn it. And you want to keep this flexible, right? Children nowadays, is like once you give them a particular system, they start gamifying it. They start, wow, if I can get 1 minute, then they start telling their friends, hey, why don't you give me some candy? Why don't you give me some sweets? Horrible, horrible little creature, right? It's great for kind of like, if you need a weekend, you need to work, you can do things like, hey, if you tidy up your room or whatever, I'll give you 5 minutes. They create a micro economy around the device things, and my 4 kids, they started trading device time. Hey, if you help me do this and this, I'll give you my 5 minutes iPad time and stuff. very cool. So you've got the time limit. You have made them earn it, right? Again, I'm not diving too deep about why you want to make them earn it and why you want to make them the time limit blocking stuff. You have to do a digital audit, right? Unfortunately, you can't run away from this. Digital audit means that you're giving them the iPads, you're giving them the iPhones. You have to check what are the apps doing, what's the content doing. Too often, I see parents just give their kids and then they're using YouTube. Dangerous stuff, because YouTube, you can really find some weird stuff on YouTube. I mean, even for grown-ups, you go, whoa, you have to audit that. Very quick guideline, I talk about apps, right? Good apps, as a guideline, you need to look for this sort of elements, right? It needs to be a very progressive kind of app. When I say progressive, it means that there's like stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. It needs to be varied, so some of the good apps, they vary the types of activities that they let your child do. It needs to be constructive, so there are certain apps that are like, oh, you can build this, or you can make that, and it's fairly open-ended. It needs to be creative. Drawing apps are great. Coloring book apps if your child is younger. Check the reviews on the App Store. Just read that stuff and so on, or go online and search. Some ideas. Basically, I look for like keywords, if it says Montessori, it says puzzles, drawing, Minecraft, a very specific kind of app. Music apps are great as well. There are a lot of very cool apps that are teaching kids like the basics of rhythm and stuff and so on and so forth. Reading. There's a publisher called TidyBot, which is really doing good stuff in terms of app development. And Khan Academy, which is they have a very simple app where they got all these lectures and stuff as well for the older kids. And it really helps with like when they start asking very interesting questions like why do volcanoes happen and why do earthquakes happen? Why is the sky blue? I don't call these bad apps. I'm just saying that they're not so good apps. And these are probably the apps that these are the apps that are very addictive. Very addictive. They tend to be very repetitive. They're grindy, like Pokemon. There are 5,000 Pokemons. You're gonna catch them all, right? And they tend to be violent. Violence is bad. I'm just saying that it's not so good. Some of these apps you're probably like, yeah, I have it in my phone right now. Candy Crush, Plants vs Zombies, Angry Birds. Like my 4-year-old Angry Birds. Then I take them to an island resort, and guess what? What the older one goes? I'm gonna throw you over there, and then we try to hit things. I was like, oh, right? Clash of Clans, and then shmups is basically shoot 'em ups. Games or apps that are shooting related. I have noticed this with a younger kid. We keep them isolated for a while. They're okay. They're kind of. Then the moment, somebody has a relative has got an Avengers game, right? And you know how is it like? You go to the reunion, sure enough, there's a horrible uncle that hey, I give you my iPad to keep you occupied. Boom, play one game. After that, shoot, kill. Again, it's not bad, but it just makes parenting a little bit more challenging. So, which brings me quite nicely to the fourth point. You have to guide and supervise. You have to guide and supervise. It's extremely tempting, myself included, guilty of, you're busy and then you just say, here, take the iPad, leave me alone for 2 hours. Okay for older kids. Very, very okay if you've already laid the foundation, you've already guided them, you already supervised it, you know roughly what they're up to, what they're doing. Then you earn your 1-2 hours of the iPad will babysit the child for a while. But the early stages, you have to sit down, guide them and supervise them. Especially for some of the more learning apps like Khan Academy, for example. It's not fun. Khan Academy app is not fun. You know, the last thing a child would do is when they see the app screen with Candy Crush, Plant Zombie, and Khan Academy, they're not going to go to Khan Academy, right? You have to actually show them and say, hey, you know, you can browse things here and stuff and so forth. You can watch this video and so on and so forth. You have to guide and supervise them. Some of the apps I talked about just now that I say is good, like the building type apps, the construction type apps. Again, they're not immediately intuitive for a child. I mean, compared to Angry Birds, say drag the bird, you know, that's really intuitive. But some of the building type apps, you should spend time with them. Say you can build this, you can choose these things. Doesn't take a lot of your time. They learn it, and boom, they're like, it becomes their favorite app because to people spark that thing. Hey, you can create something rather than just be a spectator, drag the bird, all right? And that brings me to the fifth point. How many of you all know that your iPads and I talk more about iOS stuff. I'm pretty sure Android has equivalent. The parental controls that allows you to set the rating, like, you know, for your older kids, right? If you let them browse the store themselves, this is like a censorship thing, right? But more importantly, that there are advanced tools in your iPads and your iPhones, like, have you heard of accessibility control? There's a way where you can turn on this feature when you triple click the device when you run an app, and that's the only app your child can use. They cannot disable it, they cannot turn it off and stuff without a passcode. I mean, obviously for the older kids, they'll start trying to hack the passcode, but if they can crack the passcode, then you're on the right track. It's still good, it's all good. But setting the content rating is important. So there's a lot of very cool parental features and controls. As a parent and as one parent to the rest of other parents and teachers as well, I highly recommend you all learn up about all the different things that you can do. It might make you go, hey, you know what, especially if you're a teacher and you're running a play school full of kids, right? You're saying, oh, I want them to learn only one app. So the ability to lock it into just one app is very, very, very useful. Set restrictions. So, you know, just now I just said, with the parental controls, I've set restrictions. You can only use one app, and then it even has a timer thing, like, you know, after 1 hour it switches off and you cannot turn it on again without passcode. But in this case, when I say set restrictions, and the picture kind of like gives you the hint to it, set restrictions. No, in my household is no devices in the dining table, no devices in the family gathering thing. I know that this may seem a little bit too holier than thou. Like, I know maybe some of you are okay with that. Ourselves personally, we are like, okay, we're not going to do that. But we're not going around and evangelizing to people who do. What happens here, and this is kind of cool. What happens here in a family gathering? There are several families, and one family is like more lackadaisical about the device restrictions. My kids are like, oh, there's no device for us, but they can go to the cousin who has a device. So we created an opportunity for socializing. Because, you know, if there's only one device out there during the family dinner, guess what all the kids are doing? They're hovering to the devices and stuff, and then that creates a social an opportunity for socializing. Hey, you know, they start bargaining again. And that's great, that's great. Versus, basically, if there's no restriction, every child has a device, nobody's talking. Right? So that's just kind of like a guideline, not a rule. This is a guideline, right? So if you choose to take this guideline, you create this opportunity for your kids to go and socialize. So my kids now are really good. Like, they can go to a restaurant, and there's another family, not even related to us, and their child's got an iPad or iPhone. They make friends. They make friends a little bit too easily. Even uncle also there. My uncle playing mahjong on the app. You know, people. Oops. So with the restrictions and stuff and so on and so forth, I need to remind all parents and teachers about behavior modeling. So it's one thing to be able to tell your child, hey, don't do this, don't do that, no iPad, you know, restriction, 1 hour and stuff and so on and so forth, and then, you know, dinner time, no iPads and stuff. But if you are doing it, you know, or if during a family time, you are the one who's, you know, myself, I'm guilty too. Sometimes it's just busy working and stuff, you know, it's just happened. If you are doing this, or you're doing this, What do you expect your child or your students, I mean, maybe teachers don't do this in the classroom, but for parents especially, right? They model you. Especially in this age, it's even more, myself, I tend to be at home quite often. I think this is like parents too, I know. Because of technology and stuff, we have the opportunity to be able to work from home quite often. Guess what? You know, if your children are seeing you spending so much time on your devices and stuff and so on and so forth, naturally it's normalized for them, right? And that's why if you remember all my previous points about supervising and guiding and stuff, those are very important to raising digital children. Otherwise, you will end up having children who are also isolated and oblivious to the world. Right? So behavior modeling, remember that. Again, I'm not an expert in this. I read a lot about it. You guys are probably way more knowledgeable than me. But I'm just bringing up here to remind everybody, behavior modeling, right? Because I have seen parents, again, it's always in a restaurant. They tell the kid off about doing too much on the device, and after that, I caught myself a few times too. And my wife is very, very like disciplinarian when it comes to she'll be like, give me the phone. Extra digital activities. I was talking about raising digital children, but I'm also talking about parents. With online, with technology, with YouTube and Google and stuff, it's easier than ever to go online and find what are the things that you can do offline. Yeah? It's easier than ever to go online to find out what you can do with your kids and your students as well, what you can do offline. Great, awesome resource out there. I've learned about from a YouTube how to cook certain things. I've learned from YouTube how to make a drone. I've learned from YouTube what sort of projects that I can do with my kids. There was a very interesting YouTube about one of the illustrators for Disney who basically gave me an idea of what to do with my kids for one weekend, which is print out a whole bunch of paper with circles on them, and then get your kids to draw all sorts of expressions, and then see how many expressions they can do. Simple things like this, I'm like, oh, you won't learn this from Excel, right? Raising digital children means that as a parent or as an educator, you also learn to use the tools to empower you, to enable you to interact and to guide the children to a world that is not just online, right? Offline as well. It's so diverse. Because my wife goes online to learn about how to grow a garden with kids. The step-by-step is there, right? Think about the extra digital activities. You don't have to sit down and think about it yourself. Go online, search it, and then try it out. And, communicate. At the end of the day, we work so hard about interactive learning management systems, all the apps, technology and stuff, and so on and so forth. If you think about it, technology is about getting you time, earning back time for you, right? You're more efficient than ever. You are more connected than ever, right? Back in my days, when there's no technology, my parents are always working. Then they come back, they're tired. With technology, we are more efficient than ever. We finish our tasks faster. We can manage our time better. We can eke out that extra time. And what do we do with it? Especially when it comes to raising children. We should be communicating with them. Why I said this one? Because about 3 months ago, I started telling because I introduced Slack. This is a communication tool that is taking over the world by storm. And I introduced it in my company, and it also, basically there was a problem with collaboration, right? And Slack solved that collaboration thing. And me not thinking straight, basically told my wife, hey, I think we should have Slack in the family. And my wife basically said, what's wrong with you? Your kid is next door. You don't need to talk to him with Slack. Just go and sit down with him and see what is he up to. And I was like, oh yeah, actually yeah. But I thought that with Slack it can be more efficient. and if I tell him something, he can remember it. And I did tell him that on Slack. we need to communicate more. I put a picture there of dolphins, right? Dolphins are such social creatures, such social animals. They don't have iPhones, they don't have iPads, and they're so tight. They're tight, man, you know? And that's something that we as humans, as we get too deep into technology and stuff, and so immersed by that, we need to make sure we divide up, right? The tools and the technology and the whatever it is that is making us more efficient and stuff. We have a lot of time left. It's very, very easy to get caught up in the entertainment aspect of technology. It's a double-edged sword. Technology is a double-edged sword. We need to be aware, we need to be mindful. Use technology to get you all the time you want. Then what do you do with that extra time? Communicate. And with that, I'm going to give you nine simple tips for raising digital children. Thank you very, very much.